The riffs are too repetitive, the lyrics make no sense. All the songs are B-sides and the cover art's a mess. There's so much here to tear apart. Listen to it for a week, now that week has passed. It's Why I Hate This Album podcast with Tim and Garrett.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Why I Hate This Album. I am one of your hosts, Garrett Harvey. With me as always, co-host extraordinaire Jebediah to my Springfield, Timothy Richardson. Tim, how you doing, buddy?
Not great, to be honest. My eyes are burning from misapplied eyeliner. I had a great deal of difficulty attempting to fall in reverse this week. I ended up just falling.
A tip that I wish I had given you on Monday, eyeliner is to go around the eyes, not on the eyes.
Well, that's how it started out, and then I just even it out a little bit. It ends up on the pupil.
Can you see?
It's a blurry black haze, but yes.
So same as always. Okay,
Yeah.
Good to hair it. Tim, what's got you falling all over the house and experimenting with makeup in your free time?
As the first album of our spooktacular spooktathlon, we have been listening to Falling in Reverse's debut album, The Drug in Me Is You, released July 26th, 2011. This album and band was suggested repeatedly. Andrew Stack, Sam B. Games, a different Sam, Mike, and Zelyud from our very first email ever.
Wow.
A lot of people suggested actually we do their Fashionably Late album, and those people need not worry. This band demands a second look.
Yeah, I think they swing wildly into rap. That'll be fun to explore. This week, as you mentioned, we are talking about The Drug in Me Is You. And Tim, I have to ask, do you hate this album?
I do, but more importantly, I hate the frontman of this band. That guy sucks on every possible level.
Okay, let me ask you one brief question, because we're just at the top. We're going to break it down. Would you still hate this album minus him, even if it sounded identical?
Yes, because I hate a lot of what he does with his vocals.
That's all I needed to know.
Sure. What about you? Do you hate this?
Yes.
Okay.
I sure do.
Episode
It's
over.
been a while. Yeah, been a while. Since we've had something that we can both emphatically agree, right up top, there's no confusion. This sucks.
Sure.
You have virtually no history. I have no history. So that brings us to the most important history there is, the history of this band. How did this thing come to be? Take us on a brief journey, if you will, on the rise of one Falling in Reverse.
The Falling in Reverse story is really the Ronnie Radke story. Ronald Joseph Radke. That's a long name. We can just call him Rojo.
You know, listen, that's a terrible nickname. First of all, that's terrible. So we could at least workshop it for a moment. We're talking about dedicating something for the rest of the entire hour.
We can also go with Rojo Rad if you like that.
I like it better. I don't know how much shorter it is.
It's longer. So not at all.
Rojo Rad. It's not great. Give me a couple more.
Ron Rad?
Rorack. Ron Rad. Rad Ron. Rad Ron.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Let's go with that.
All right, so Rojo's mother was gone.
You're going to do it? That is going to be a slap.
She was gone for most of his childhood because she preferred drugs to family, allegedly, which, according to Radron, quote-unquote, caused him to have a general lack of respect toward women.
I said it's not that he's just a dickhead.
Sure, everyone needs to have an explanation for why they're a dickhead. It doesn't have to be an excuse, Garrett. It could just be an underlying psychological reason.
Yeah, but then when you shrug your shoulders and say, so it's kind of her fault, right?
Yeah, what a bitch.
Then, no, we are not saying the same thing.
Fair enough. Rojo Rad grew up playing guitar and piano. He was initially interested mainly in learning Blink-182 songs, and he played in several bands in high school. He ran away from home to play in his first band, 3.0, which sounded exactly like Blink-182, but then would move back and forth between his mom and his dad's house, dropping in and out of school. Then he learned about screaming as well as singing as vocal delivery styles, and the band Escape the Fate was slowly formed out of that realization. So throughout this time period, Rojo found that he enjoyed drugs and also rehab. He overdosed on OxyContin, Xanax, alcohol, and maybe some other stuff in 2005. Apparently his friends found him, thought he was dead, and then just kind of left him there because what are they supposed to do? They can't raise a man from the dead.
True.
And all of that is, of course, allegedly, but it does make several appearances in the lyrics in several places on this album.
Yeah, he seems to admit it pretty freely.
He recorded a few demo songs, and then they started playing around Las Vegas. They entered and won a radio contest judged by My Chemical Romance.
Didn't Imagine Dragons win a Battle of the Bands in Las Vegas?
So, yeah.
What's going on out there? Just constantly having battles of the bands to see who gets to leave Las Vegas.
That's right. That radio contest got them an opening slot for Alkaline Trio, and from there they got signed to Epitaph Records. Escape the Fate released an EP in 2005. They released their only full album with Rojo in 2006, and then, Garrett, Rad Ronnie got into a fight in Las Vegas. I'll get into that more in the rap sheet, but basically that resulted in the shooting death of a guy named Michael Cook by somebody that was not Rojo. But
spoiler alert.
He was initially charged with the murder, and then he eventually was indicted on battery charges. He was given 5 years probation. He didn't really bother to report to his probation officer regularly, and so he was sentenced to 2 years in prison. And the band Escape the Fate just continued on without him.
And I think they made it known that he was officially kicked out of the band. I don't want to spoil the rap sheet, although you kind of just spoiled some of the rap sheet. I just want to point out that when he goes to prison, there are two key things that have happened relative to Escape the Fate. One, I get the impression he was one of the last people to get clean in the band.
Yep.
Because he and the other guy, Max, whatever the fuck, Green.
The guy he hates the most.
Right. AKA his best friend.
Right. You get that, right?
Yeah. Tim. We got a problem here. I don't want any parallels between you and I and Falling in Reverse, but yeesh.
You're Rojo.
Anyway. Oh yeah, I'm Ricky Rad for sure. Anyway, my point being, the rest of the band was tired of him fucking up due to the drug addiction. Then all he had to do was go to a probation officer, and he failed to do it, and then ends up in prison for years because of it. And they were like, yeah, you know what, dude? We're done. No more of this.
And there's a ton of interviews after he gets out of prison where he's just bitching. He's just like, it was really unfair of them because I'm a rock star. I'm in a band. We have to tour and I have to check in regularly with a probation officer. I mean, it got so bad I wasn't able to leave Las Vegas. I had to get a job at a bar. It was ridiculous. Didn't your actions lead to the death of another human being? Nah, you know what? You're probably right. They were really fucking you on this one with that 5 years of probation for that
murder.
Right.
Allegedly. Just over anything.
No, I don't think so. I don't think we need to do the allegedly here. He served 2 years in prison for it.
That's true. Well, technically, he served 2 years in prison for failing to show up to a probation meeting.
Right, but he had that probation for that
murder.
Yeah, right. And I think that we don't really have much to worry about because, sure, this guy might come for us, but 6699 is soon to be sleeping on our couch, so I feel very safe. From other people, not from him.
Real hothead, from what I can tell. Bit of a temper, but he has accepted our invitation, so I look forward to having a guest.
While in prison, Rocky Raccoon formed the band From Behind These Walls, although he did later change the name to Falling in Reverse due to copyright infringement. The album of the week was written while he was in prison, and he somehow managed to make a demo while he was still in jail. I think he was basically sending lyrics and music and whatnot out, and then other people were recording it, but I wasn't entirely sure what that meant. Rojo was released from prison and immediately started bitching about his former bandmates, Max Green being the most prominent. He stated in an interview, they make a whole album called The War Is Ours, and then they try to say, we didn't name that album after you, dude, which in fact, they did. I could be wrong. They could be talking about the war on terrorism or something. I don't know, but I just have a feeling that record was about me. They talk a lot of shit. It is always about forgive and forget, but there's some things that I would just like to say. So I did, on the record. Who does that remind you of, Garrett? That speech pattern.
Oh.
There it is. In 2010, after he was released from prison, they began to record this album. It was eventually released in 2011. Their first shows were 2011 Vans Warped Tour.
Of course, everybody has to do it. Kiss the ring. Sadly, they can't anymore, though. It's gone.
They went on to release 3 more albums on Epitaph with apparently increasing amounts of rapping and video game references.
That is the report.
Rojo released some solo material, including a rap mixtape, and as of 2019, 2019, he has been dating WWE wrestler Sarava Beavis. So, before we wrap up the history, let's do the rap sheet here.
Oh, I love the rap sheet. We have not had this in a while. We haven't had somebody so felonious in so long that we haven't gotten to do the segment. But Tim, take us through the rap sheet. What has he done? What has he served time for? What's he been alleged of? And what has his excellent lawyers gotten him out of?
The very first thing, he got in trouble quite a bit for drugs. And that happened all the way through his childhood and early adulthood. But the main thing is the battery charge. At 22 years old, Rad Ronnie got into a fight with somebody named Marcel Colquitt at a high school. I'm not sure why it was at a high school. I believe that it was, let's meet at the tetherball court to fight at 3 p.m., despite the fact that
they really meant it.
Right, but none of them were in high school, and they both brought a bunch of guys to also fight.
Fighting.
Right. Chase Rader, who was on Team Rojo, shot Michael Cook 3 times, killing him and wounding Colquitt's brother. Rojo, of course, got away with probation, at least initially, and Colquitt killed himself before he could stand trial for his role. According to a 2008 interview with Las Vegas Weekly, the guy that actually shot somebody, Chase Rader, got off by claiming self-defense. Mm-hmm. But that's, again, according to Rojo, so I'm not 100% sure the accuracy of that.
Yeah, not to be trusted.
May 2012, Rojo was arrested in California after he failed to make a scheduled court appearance after being accused of hitting his girlfriend. He was charged with corporal injury and misdemeanor false imprisonment charges. He pleaded no contest to disturbing the peace.
That's so crazy. He claims she's lying, which I gotta say, Tim, I want to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. It's innocent till proven guilty. He pled no contest to disturbing the peace, so maybe nothing happened. But as we're gonna find out here real soon, this album does not make it look good.
Right. He may not have hit this woman. He may not have falsely imprisoned this woman. However, he is firmly in the pro-hitting women camp.
Yeah, let's at least just say he didn't do those things, but he would have liked to, according to the songs.
Right. Also in 2012, while performing at Fest Evil, you get it?
But there's not an E there.
Right, they added it.
Oh.
Fest Evil. It's a punk rock festival for Six Flags Great Adventure. He threw a bunch of microphone stands into the audience and was charged with simple and aggravated assault.
Oh my God.
Six Flags no longer allows hard rock or heavy metal bands at that particular amusement park as a result.
That's stupid. It's not heavy metal. It's assholes. The base of a microphone stand is heavy as shit.
Right?
Oh my God.
2015, he was accused of sexual assault in Salt Lake City. He was accused of assaulting a 25-year-old woman on a bus with the bus driver present. It's a weird detail. Although police found no evidence at the time that Rojo had in fact assaulted her, and an eyewitness reported she was intoxicated upon exiting the bus, so probably a whore.
Wait, no, I don't think that adds up.
Oh, well, I think that's how the court saw it.
Oh, 50-50, we flipped a coin, we went with whore.
Right, the court said whore. Anyway, Rojo sued her for defamation of character, which is...
Did he win?
I'm not sure how that ended up.
Okay.
So yeah, he's a reasonable human being who respects others and...
makes nothing but good decisions.
Right.
Takes responsibility for his actions. Great rap sheet, Tim, but that brings us to general thoughts. Ooh, where to begin? I guess before we talk even about the music, let's talk about the cover of this album.
Sexy.
Oh boy. Yikes. It seems to be a prom queen who's been crying, mascara running down her face, who may live in a locker?
Yeah, it's sort of a locker coffin combination.
Oh yeah, she does have her arms crossed like it's a coffin. Tim, I'm not gonna lie, this is embarrassing to admit. I did not even pick up on that.
Yeah, you never do. You oftentimes, whenever you go to funerals, you store your textbooks in those coffins.
Sure. I just think it's a nice bin so that you don't disrespect the dead.
But there's a dead body in those.
Well, yeah, you do. I end up doing the exact opposite of what I meant to, but that's not the point. My intentions are good.
They always are.
In this photo, a traumatized woman with too much makeup on seems to be sleeping in a locker. So she's some sort of teen vampire who's been assaulted. Actually, I'm looking at it again, Tim. It kind of seems as though the mascara ran. She had a really bad time. Not going to specify how that could be. But then it looks like she has reapplied the makeup and now she has a vindictive stare. Like she's been steeled against life and she's ready to take things on. She will not have that happen again.
Good for her, but also can't possibly be what Rojo meant in this picture.
No, he probably just thinks it's pretty sexy.
Yeah. The music. My Chemical Romance, I think, is a good pull.
Yes,
It
totally.
sounds like My Chemical Romance covering an Insane Clown Posse song, but there are, at the bare minimum, threats of skits. There's sound effects littered throughout. There's the weird braggadocio. There's the overdone I'm dark thing. And then a lot of this is sung in, I don't know exactly how to explain it. It's Slipknot voice. It's an exaggerated...
the screaming.
Well, not even the screaming, but that really deep, heavy
growl.
metal growl. Yeah, it's like a slightly more exaggerated version of the voice Christian Bale does for Batman for some reason.
Where's the trigger?
Yes, exactly. And, that's not the first time we've had that. The Disturbed episode had a lot
True.
of that, but a lot of times he sings with emo or like pop punk voice as well. So it's jarring.
Yeah, great word. That's the thing. It sits in such stark contrast to the style of the rest of the music. And can I dare say, much like the Black Parade, parts of this feel bombastic, like a musical almost at times.
Sure.
It's very odd. Like he's declaring all these things to an audience that does not exist. I struggle so hard to classify this music.
Yeah. I mean, there's some parts that are circusy. There's some parts that are very punk rockish. The circusy parts actually sound like a pop punk band covering the Decemberists, maybe.
Sure. I want a better word for pop punk, because that's not really what's going on.
Right.
It's emo. It's very My Chemical Romance. Probably My Bloody Valentine. I think that's a thing, maybe. I don't know.
There's a lot of really competent musicianship on this album. The guitarist is really, really good. I mean, he has some weird instincts because he does a lot of 80s guitar solos where they do not belong. It's just kind of a shame that they all agreed to focus all of this music on Rojo's thoughts and ideas, because musically it's not a bad band, but lyrically and vocally, it's a terrible band.
I think Ricky Rad even might have, I think he might be a talented singer. He's the first person I've ever heard, and I'm sure there's others that can, but I can hear him singing through the growl. It's terrible. I can't stand it. You're right to call it the growl, because there are other parts of this album where he's just screaming, and that's not the same thing. But that's not to say the growl is not a scream-like growl.
Sure.
But I am impressed with his ability to sing through it. I can't stand it, but I think that you're right. This could be a good band.
Yeah.
There are songs on this album where if you were in a restaurant or a bar and you didn't know who this was, you might hear just a piece of it and go, oh, I want to find out what band that is.
Yeah. And then you would, and you'd be very disappointed.
So angry and confused. You might end up listening to the whole album just to understand, but you won't.
Rojo on this album is really trying to cultivate this persona of being like dark and brooding. He's this troubled badass that all the ladies are into, and he's just really a self-involved scumbag.
Oh, yeah.
This is an album about how he proudly has learned nothing from all the horrible shit he's done and things that he's been through. Everyone around him is a dick for not indulging his most selfish tendencies because, you see, he's a genius.
Correct. He is a real Kanye.
Oh man, that's a good pull too.
Maybe Kanye is super into falling in reverse.
Wouldn't surprise me. The other thing, I doubt that middle school or high school were welcoming environments for your particular brand of self-indulgent, heartfelt poetry. I know for a fact that college and your first job, your poetry during those periods was mocked very heavily, but I can't think of a worse environment for this moody asshole to be writing whiny, sad boy poetry than in prison. Do you think there was an instance where he read his poetry aloud to a group while fucking a particular young lady that he had his gross little eyes on, or, a particularly handsome young man? I've never been to prison, but if you're currently listening to this podcast in prison and writing a Falling in Reverse style album, write it in secret.
Yeah, don't share with anybody.
Right. Do not let your cellmate know what you were up to.
What do you think of it? I call it Raised by Wolves. Hold my pocket!
Oh, dear God.
Follow me to my cell. You're mine.
Yeah.
Oh.
On that note, and by that I mean moving away from that note, there are parts of this album that probably violate his parole, right?
There's admissions on this album that violate his parole.
Yes.
Yeah, so musically, they know what they're doing. They're just doing it wrong. I feel like you've got a guitarist that hates the band he's in, and he just wants to do his cool shit, but unfortunately, Rad Ricky runs the show. And to his credit, I do believe that the reason this band is popular is because of him.
Yes, which is weird.
Yeah. I mean, people like this show, so there's no accounting for taste. Before we get into the song by song, there's one thing I do want to say so that I don't have to say it for every single song ad nauseum. He really, really hates his old band for kicking him out of the band after he was sent to prison, and he doesn't shut the fuck up about it.
Yes. I have some bad news for you. I will be talking about that on most of these songs.
We can't not talk about it, but I want to just say up front, it blew my mind how many songs he dedicated to how much he hates those guys, whom I am suspecting have no ill will towards him, but we're like, hey, we all have families and lives, so like those of us who didn't get sent to prison are going to keep going with the
Right.
band.
You can't just take 2 years off of your life because your buddy was involved in a murder and is now in prison as a result. Like, if you got in a fight with somebody and one of your friends shot a guy and then you went to prison for 2 years, I'm going to still do the show. I'm going to get a different guy to do the show with.
You know what? I might be getting ready to side with Ron Rickles here. I would kill you.
Well, no, you don't kill me, Garrett. You start another podcast after you get out from prison that is making fun of this podcast. That's what you do.
Why I hate this album. Why I hate Timothy Richardson.
Just every episode is a review of the episode of this show previous.
God, I could destroy you. I mean, I could destroy our own show. When I listen to our old ones, I want to rip my ears off. I want you to know you will not be selling ad time on my new show.
Fair enough.
You ready for these songs?
Yes.
All right, track number 1, Raised by Wolves.
This is the first of approximately 11 songs in a row that are just about his previous band, how sad they are going to be because he's gone,
and how angry he is.
also how much he loves drugs.
Yeah, he does manage to squeeze that in.
I think that theme goes along with the women want to bang him, men want to be him thing.
That's true.
I think it's just he's really awesome. He's got a great haircut. And again, we'll get into that as well. Let's hit the lyrics.
Okay. I will never spill my blood for you. You have let me down one too many times. So he is fed up, Tim. If you thought things were going to be the same when before I went to prison, they're not. You know how many pockets I had to hold? I'm a changed man.
Yeah, and he is just roaring this as well. This is all Christian Bailey.
Oh, that's right. He starts to sing about his time in prison, and the way he frames that, it doesn't quite hit the ear right. Knowing what we know, going over the rap sheet, the history. Let me read the lyrics. Due to mistakes I have made to the state, okay, I am trapped inside a Dillinger, diligently thinking of ways. To get out of this god-awful place, I have learned that my fate is something I cannot escape. Okay, due to mistakes I have made to the state.
He does not feel that he is responsible to the person that got
Okay, that's
killed.
my question. That's my question. I read it one of two ways. Either he believes he has wronged the state, or he believes that according to the state, he has done wrong.
He has not violated God's law, Garrett. He has violated man's law. God's law is firmly on his side because he's awesome and he deserves...
Do you think he cares about God's law?
Oh, no, it's just a euphemism for he gets to do whatever the fuck he wants, or he is right in doing whatever he does.
Oh, okay. I don't think that's how other people mean it.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Also confusing, I've never heard anyone refer to prison as a Dillinger before. I like it.
I hadn't either. Turns out it is a saying. I was angry to learn that. You like it.
Yep. Gonna start calling prison a Dillinger, and we're gonna be talking a lot about Dillingers, because you are going to the Dillinger.
What did I do?
Nothing yet, but I gotta figure out some way to get you off this podcast.
I mean, you keep saying Dillinger. I might get a big group of friends together, meet you out by the local high school. Hopefully one of them shoots you.
That's fair. He phrases all of this as if this was something done to him.
Oh yeah, he had no agency in these actions.
Yes, and to be clear, Dillinger is exactly where this guy belongs because his actions led to somebody's death.
The music in here is where it starts off just crazy as shit. Almost not good Charlotte, but I hate to keep harping on just My Chemical Romance.
It's any emo band, really, and then you throw on some, like, death metal.
Right. This is where we learn right up top that this guy is very confident in himself and believes that anything that he touches turns to gold. He says one day they'll see it was always me.
With these two bands, Escape the Fate and Falling in Reverse, he might be kinda right. He is probably...
I think he is right.
But in a very small town kind of way.
Right. Big fish, small pond.
It's the why I hate this album of music.
Right. So Tim, as always, and especially when we are in this spooky month. For our scaretacular spookstravaganza, we pick albums that have a haunted theme. I managed to tease out what I think's really going on here, and I think just below the surface, there might very well be, well, let's just face it, a vampire musical about a vampire who was raised by werewolves.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, trying to make it in the big city, learning the ways of the vampire. He is Steve Martin's the jerk. He doesn't understand the world around him because he was raised by werewolves. So obviously the album opens, raised by wolves. They tell you right in the title. It's perfect. As we learn, he's not getting along with somebody. Now I was trying to figure out who might he not get along with, and I think I understand. So he opens, he says, "Don't be fooled, I was raised by wolves. Now the moon hangs in full, so you know I won't play by the rules." I think he's hinting at the fact that he's dealing with other vampires who he has some problem with. We'll figure out what it is later. And he's letting him know, listen, man, I was raised by werewolves, for God's sake. I'll bite your fucking face off. I don't give a shit about your ceremonies and your rules. I'm sure you're well aware, Tim. Vampire culture is steeped in ceremony and ritual.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It seems almost as convoluted as that weird cowboy sex cult you belong to.
It's not a sex cult, Garrett.
Okay. Well, it is. I don't know what
Very
else to call it.
demeaning.
Yeah, well, you're in a demeaning sexual cowboy cult. Here's the lines. He says, "I will never spill my blood for you. You have let me down one too many times." So this could be him telling his familiar, "I'm never going to give you the blood of the vampire you required to make the transformation. You've let me down. You're out." But what I think it might be, Tim, is a colloquialism within the vampire community. "I will never spill my blood for you" could be kind of like saying, "I'm never going to break bread with you again in our culture," because, we don't spill blood for food. That'd be disgusting. And he's just saying, you and me are done. So he goes on to sing, "You're what I started, now disregarded. One day we'll see, it was always me." Tim, there's no reason you can't be a vampire and a musician.
I think that if Queen of the Damned has taught us anything, it's that
Did it?
It frequently occurs together. They are singing exclusively nu metal, so this style of music we're getting on this album doesn't necessarily fit well. But
Oh, well, that was of the time, Tim. That's when that came out. They changed. This band might be the perfect cover.
you're wrong, because we learned in that movie it was thousands of years that these vampires were asleep, and they did not wake up in the 60s. They didn't wake up to Led Zeppelin. They didn't wake up to disco. They didn't wake up to grunge. They didn't wake up to Journey, for God's sakes. You'd think if a vampire would wake up to anything, it would be Journey.
Yeah, that's true.
It took until nu metal came along before they were really awakened. I think it's not music. I think it's nu metal, specifically.
For sure. This is a song about vampires who are also musicians. It's not about the music they play, okay? I'm willing to go along with you on this. So I think you're right. I think that maybe he's the one who changed him, and now this other guy is becoming more popular, and he's saying, no, they'll see. It was always me. I left you behind. You didn't leave me behind.
Yeah, I left you behind whenever I went to prison for 2 years. Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, that's what happened on the surface. That could be a euphemism. Vampires don't go to prison, Tim. Vampires they're exiled. The vampire community gets together, they meet at the Vampire Council, and you were given a sentence. They are typically exiled to a cave, underground, or sometimes just an abandoned spooky house. I don't want to jump ahead.
Track number 2, Tragic Magic. Is this song ironic? I struggled with this. I don't think so, though. I think that he just really does not have a good sense of self and a good sense of what's socially appropriate. He might be a little bit on the spectrum.
Various spectrums.
Yes, the vampire spectrum, the autism spectrum. You can be both. You can be an autistic vampire.
I'd love to see it.
No, you wouldn't, Garrett. It is a nightmare.
Oh, that's rude. I might be on the spectrum. You've accused me of various spectra in the past.
My point is that the combination of the two is a nightmare.
Okay. Yeah, all right, I could see that.
I'm not saying anything bad about people on the spectrum.
Only people on both.
Right.
That's fair. And well, we shouldn't call them people. They're the undead.
I don't think you should call the autistic people the undead.
You know I'm talking about vampires, you cunt.
The music in this song reminded me a lot of My Chemical Romance, but without the gravitas that My Chemical Romance had.
It has a bit more of the sing-songy fun nature of, say, a Scissor Sisters.
There's a lot of Scissor Sisters Sisters like guitar work in this album.
Yeah, that's a confounding band as well.
Yes.
See you later, Scissor Sisters.
We should agree, before we get into the lyrics, don't include laughter in song intros.
Yeah, absolutely.
This starts off with, I'm back. If you're gonna say that after returning to the music scene from prison, why is that not the first song?
Right. You open with I'm back. We know you're back. We heard the first song. You were raised by wolves.
Yes. The lyrics in this song, so let's rewind back to the time, 2005, I almost died. I overdosed. I did not know that I'd provoke this evil ghost. Again, presumably talking about that time that no one gave a shit when he overdosed and looked like he was dead.
Right.
Magically, I turn tragedy into melodies over catchy beats. It comes so naturally, so smooth and casually. That's why they call me king of the music scene. This is offensive, right?
It's just off-putting.
Yes, but the tragedy that he just so casually refers to is either that time that he overdosed and nearly died, but probably more likely that time he got that guy killed and then refused to abide by the very lenient sentence that was handed out to him, and then he went to prison, and then his bandmates kicked him out of the band because he was in prison. The tragedy involved was 100% caused by him.
Sure. And there's a few different things going on here. I want to be clear. I am not the least bit offended if you were incredibly casual about that time you almost overdosed. However, if your song is going to have lyrics such as magically I turn tragedy into melodies over catchy beats, you have to understand that part of that tragedy is somebody getting killed. I'm not personally offended. It's just in poor taste, and it's an odd time to brag.
Yeah. Verse 2. I dug a hole 10 miles wide so I can throw you all inside. You're such a dumb fuck. You need to shut up. You bring a picture of me every time you get your hair cut.
To be clear, he's really angry at the old band. Specifically, in this instance, I think Craig Mabbitt, or possibly Max Green.
Yes. This seems like he's maybe threatening to murder them, putting them in a hole. I don't know.
He dug a trench to bury his former bandmates, and then he's saying Mabbitt is even trying to cut his hair like him because he's the new lead singer.
Have you seen this jackass's haircut?
Which one?
Rojo.
Oh, yeah, Ricky Ross?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Don't cut your hair
I don't
like
even know
him.
what to call it. It's fucking stupid.
Yes. I mean, you have the haircut of a right-wing extremist. Granted, it looks great on you. You do. You've got that shaved up high thing and then the long on top and brushed over. It's the haircut of today's neo-Nazi. That being said, Rojo looks like an asshole.
Well, yeah, nobody should want to look like him. I struggle to even give him any attention whatsoever. We have not talked about the La La La's.
Yeah, that is oppressive.
Yeah, he hits us up with a lot of laws. You literally couldn't be bothered to write lyrics.
Yeah, I mean, if it's Paul Simon's The Boxer, fair enough. But this is not that.
Yeah, no, not at all. This is yet another song of a man petulantly complaining about his former bandmates moving on after he went to prison for his involvement in a murder.
Yes, but you have to give him credit, Garrett. He is the king of the music scene, so it does seem a little rude that you would just throw the king of the music scene to the side like that. You were asking, is this ironic? If anyone else said, that's why they call me the king of the music scene, I would say, of course it is, Garrett. This is nonsense. Whenever you refer to yourself as the king of the podcast scene, I understand that you are just having a little fun. You don't really think of yourself like that. This guy, I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I think he is actually bragging. He goes on to say, we will march, rise against them from the start. Rise against them. Who is rising against whom and why?
I think his new band is going to be rising against the old band, but you said he says that. He doesn't say that. He growl, screams, Slipknot, Batman voices it.
Oh, that's true. Where's the trigger? Rachel.
Okay, God damn it. This song does end with singing in the round that is not terrible.
Sure.
I think that's why I hate this album so much, is there's all these moments that you're just like, oh fuck, this could have been good. And it's not.
Yeah. It's like 15 degrees off of correct. Maybe 25. I'm not sure. Maybe 90.
Yeah, you're not responsible for knowing how degrees work. It's not your job.
Absolutely not. I'm not some degreeman. Temperaturologist. I speak into microphones to no one. That's what I do. So that's what's on the surface, Tim. Glad we got that out of the way. let's talk about what might be going on behind the scenes. I've never seen an addict vampire.
Well, I think they're all technically addicts.
Oh, I think so too, but I think in this case, much as he is also a musician, I think that this vampire is also a drug addict. Well, to be fair, I think he was a drug addict before he was a vampire.
Yes.
I think that's the only way it can happen. Imagine the difficulty of trying to fit into the vampire culture when you were raised by werewolves.
Oh, yeah. I imagine it would be very difficult for them to accept you. He might be a spy.
Sure,
Can you be a vampire and a werewolf? Now, let's say a werewolf bites a vampire. Is it possible for a vampire on full moons to turn into a werewolf? Or would you be some third thing?
I think that there's a lot of documentation on this. I'm not that steeped in it.
Okay.
But I want to believe that that's totally possible.
I mean, I hope
but here's
so.
the thing. I don't know the mechanics, the biological interactions of becoming a werewolf.
Garrett, I think this is where I can come in and help you.
Okay. To my mind, vampires are the living dead, right? They cannot be killed by conventional means.
Sure.
Included within that conventional means is, influenza, smallpox, HIV. They are immune to these diseases. When one is bitten by a werewolf, what is the transformation at the molecular level? Is this a disease? Is this an infection? How does one classify it medically to understand whether or not the vampire would be affected?
Well, of course, the medical community does not consider werewolfism to be a disease in the traditional sense.
It's asymptomatic.
No, you could compare it to like a malaria where it crops up every few days. This would be a monthly thing. But I don't believe that werewolfism is classified as a disease. I mean, I think it's a state of being, but I think medically...
But you understand what I'm getting at, right? Do
Sure.
you think that the vampire immune system would block you from becoming a werewolf?
It very well might. So here's the other scenario. What if he was a werewolf first? That explains why he's being raised by werewolves, because they're his actual parents. Now, he's a werewolf that was bitten by a vampire, so he's not a werewolf vampire, he's a vampire werewolf. So day to day, the vampirism has taken over, but his base level is still werewolf. So
Oh yeah, I think a werewolf can become a vampire.
okay, well then I think that's probably the only way we can justify this.
Sure, so this guy might be a half-breed.
Well, no, he's not a half-breed, he's a both.
I guess he is a both.
Yes.
Interesting. Boy, Tim, you really broke it down. To be honest, I didn't think you know shit about werewolves, but you really nailed it, buddy. Good job.
Thank you.
So, of course, as we mentioned, this guy was a drug addict before he became a vampire. So, probably trying to cope with being a werewolf. That can't be easy, as we learned in Teen Wolf. Less so in Teen Wolf 2. But, I mean, as I understand it, drug addiction is looked down upon quite a bit in the vampire community. Mostly because they can't OD. So, their tolerance just skyrockets the moment they become a vampire.
Yeah, it's
And
like
they just
Captain
become-
America.
Right. And so they just become massive jerks. Yeah, so nobody wants to be around them. So, Tim, boom, there's your exile. He was banished for the drug addiction. Probably sent him off to God knows where, like I said, cave, mausoleum, old spooky house. We'll find out. But I think that he was out there trying to become a vampire, learn the ways, Vampire Academy, etc. I don't know the details. And, they don't tolerate that kind of drug abuse, so they send him off. They banish him for a little while. I think he's been sent off due to his drug addiction. That brings us to track number 3, the title track, The Drug in Me Is You.
To be clear, the drug in him is drugs.
Well, yes, technically,
Okay.
sure. But I think he's saying the drug in him is him.
No, I think
he's looking in a mirror when he says you.
Oh, well then he can't see anything.
Well, Tim, we got to go with the surface story first.
All right,
We'll
all
get
right.
into the vampire shit later.
So again, I don't like songs that start with laughter.
Second in a row.
Right. Small caveat, White Rabbit's percussion gun is pretty great.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. The reason I say singing in the mirror is not just chicanery and bullshit. He has a quote somewhere I read saying that he just woke up one morning, looked in the mirror, and realized that the drug that was going to kill him was him.
Oh.
Yeah. So a brief moment of clarity where a man realizes that he is going to be his own downfall. And, well, probably at that point, though, Tim, he had been his own downfall repeatedly. So it's not much of a revelation. It's more of something that's been pointed out by friends, strangers, the legal system, the state of Nevada.
More of an admission than anything.
Yeah, a brief one. So he wrote a song about it.
Yeah, okay. This is the song where things start to get overtly spooky, I think.
Take us down the road.
I heard a knock upon my door the other day. I opened it to find death staring in my face. The feel of mortal stalking still reverberates. Everywhere I go, I drag this coffin just in case. The word choice here makes me think that he's not an idiot.
No, once again, it just needed maybe a second draft, well, probably a fifth, but there's nothing in there that's horrible. But you're right, it is overtly spooky. Either he is talking about, once again, the drug addiction and overdoses, or he could be saying that he was contemplating suicide the other day. I don't know.
Yeah, the pre-chorus, I felt the darkness as it tried to pull me down, the kind of dark that haunts a 100-year-old house. I don't really know what that means.
No.
The music does not make any goddamn sense for spooky imagery to be in this song.
No, we get huge 80s metal guitar, like very similar to the band The Darkness.
Yeah.
He sounds as though he is contemplating death and sees no point to existence, but he also says, I can't believe I'm actually meant to be here. I guess my question is, where's here? Maybe that'll help. On Earth? Or a famous musician?
I think in legal trouble, or in not necessarily legal trouble, but he feels persecuted.
Yes.
The way he phrases everything is it's all an external force coming at him whenever it is 100% coming from himself.
You're right, Tim. I made a huge mistake. I assumed for a moment that he had changed topics even briefly. But no. This is about three things. How he was taken down by his friends and the man. How he is the best at everything. I guess the third one is more of a 2B. How all the ladies want him and the men want to be him.
Or at the very least, if we don't want to be him, we want that haircut.
Right. Tim, I cannot imagine you going to get a haircut and bringing a photograph and being like, do that.
I mean, you can.
Have you done that?
Yeah, but it's always just essentially a buzz cut, and so they're just like, you didn't need to bring this. You could have just said a 2 all over.
It's just Bobby Hill.
Stop saying I have Bobby Hill hair. I don't have Bobby Hill hair.
I don't know you. That's my purse. What did you think the drug was?
I assumed that this was a song about a relationship, but again, I don't think so. I think he's too self-involved for that. Could just be other people. It's not the drugs that are tearing me down, man. It's other people. It's people judging me for the drugs, or arresting me for the drugs, or arresting me for the murders, or the etc.
Okay, so this song is crucial, Tim, for me figuring out what the hell was going on with this album. You're gonna love this. He says, I felt the darkness as it tried to pull me down. The kind of dark that haunts a 100-year-old house. We knew he'd been exiled, banished, if you will, and as I mentioned at the top of the show, commonplaces, cave, mausoleum, or a spooky old house. So what other explanation could there possibly be for those lines, if not that he was being pulled down by the gloom and darkness of his exile to this spooky old house in the middle of nowhere? But he returns triumphant. He's getting back out there. The exile has ended and he's got himself a job. He's moved into a nice apartment. And then what's this? A knock at the door? He heard a knock upon his door the other day. I opened it to find death staring in my face. And I'm wondering who's staring him at the face? What vampire is fearing another human being and calling them death? And who is the natural enemy of the vampire, Tim?
Papa Werewolf.
No. Oh, great guess. But no, that's crazy.
Priest.
No. Stop guessing.
No,
here.
I've got one more guess. I've got one more guess. A giant clove of sentient garlic.
Okay, you know what? That would be the enemy of the vampire. Not the natural enemy, because it's not real. But I'm talking, of course, about the bloodline known as Van Helsing.
Ooh.
Young lady knocks on his door. She's over there in 32B. Wanted to bring him over some brownies she baked as a nice housewarming gift. My name's Lisa. Lisa Van Helsing.
I will be honest, you write a lot of your notes like some sort of weird Goodwill Hunting thing you write on a lot of our windows.
Yep.
I was curious as to why Lisa Van Helsing was scrawled all over the windows.
And this is why you have to wait. That is why I've refused to tell you for 4 days. Wish you hadn't seen that. You've been relentless. But going on with the song, Tim, he says, the feel of mortal stalking still reverberates. Well, what mortal stalking would reverberate with a vampire other than a Van Helsing, the natural predator of the vampire? Now, what do you think? Do you think he was getting an innocent paper plate filled with delicious brownies? Or do you think Lisa is hunting him, picking up on the fact that he is a vampire werewolf?
Probably the latter. Those were almost certainly garlic brownies.
You think?
Yeah, I do.
Interesting.
Also, I want to believe that Hugh Jackman is playing Lisa in this movie.
Wait, Hugh Jackman is playing Lisa. Oh, okay.
It's not really a lady, Garrett. This is Victor Van Helsing or whatever the fuck his name is, but he's dressed dressed up as Lisa. He just, the moment he got to that door, he couldn't think of a different last name, and so he just Lisa Van Helsing.
Just full ripped to shit Hugh Jackman. Poorly applied blonde wig.
Yeah.
I'm Lisa Van Helsing.
Yeah, he's got a crossbow jammed down the front of his way too tight dress.
I think you're kind of cute and wanted to welcome you to the building. I'm a lady. I'm not Victor Van Helsing. I'm Lisa. Lisa Van Helsing.
Is it Victor? I don't think it is.
I don't fucking know. Who cares? It's Lisa. I'll just be across the hall if you need anything. If you want to watch a movie or cuddle on the couch, I'm not going to kill you. Lisa. That's my name. 32B. You're cute. Track number 4. I'm not a vampire.
Not to piggyback on your story here before we get to it, but just immediately what he would shout whenever he gets that plate of brownies.
I am almost certain those brownies are not going to be garlic filled.
This song starts off with a very catchy opening. I really like the intro drums, guitars, and even the backing synth. I think it really works.
This is easily my favorite song. There's no shouts, there's no growls.
Just on the surface here, it seems to be he's a drunk/drug addict, so he's sick all day, goes out at night to get his drugs or alcohol or whatever. So kind of like a vampire. But he's not a vampire. He's not going out. He's assuring Lisa Van Helsing that he is not going out to drink the blood of mortal men. He's just kind of a drug addict.
Right. And I hate you for jumping ahead. We got to talk about the song on the surface, and we'll get to the important stuff at the end. You're 100% right. He is demanding to her, hey, I'm not a vampire. I just do a lot of stuff you would associate with vampires because I'm a drug addict.
Well,
Great cover.
Absolutely is. Well, I'm not a vampire, but I feel like one. Sometimes I sleep all day because I hate the sunlight. My hands are always shaking, my body's always aching, and the dark is when I feed. Well, I can lure any woman that I want in my bed with me, and whiskey seems to be my holy water. Mothers better lock your doors and hide your daughters.
I'd agree with that last sentence, but
sure.
I take particular issue with his analogy or metaphor. Whiskey seems to be my holy water. Shouldn't it be something that he is repulsed by for it to be his holy water?
One would think, yes.
Yeah,
but it
so
also
it should be like
maybe it's
responsibility or humility is my holy water.
Or not being a party to a murder, sure. But it also might be just that it's his downfall. So like a vampire that is destroyed by holy water, he is destroyed by whiskey.
Can you destroy a vampire with holy water?
If they drink it, sure. If they don't,
oh yeah, that's going to burn the esophagus.
Right, yeah. For the line, mothers better lock your doors and hide your daughters, there's a genius annotation. It says, Ronnie isn't only warning mothers of his behavior, he is also warning their daughters. This proves how much of a ladies' man Ronnie truly is.
I'm not just going to fuck you. I'm going to fuck your kids.
Now
that is what he said.
That is the t-shirt.
No, Jesus Christ. After dark, but also that is what this song is about. They can be adult children. Let's be real clear.
Okay, good. I'm very happy.
It's a 45-year-old woman and her incredibly hot 22-year-old daughter.
Right, but he's going to phrase it as kid in your mind.
No, I'm just cutting to the quick, Tim. I'm getting to the brass tacks of this thing. We have so many to go.
Sure. This has some of the worst writing, I think, that we've discussed on maybe any album.
No, Tim, you say that all the time. You're way off base. It's not good. Listen, I'm not defending it, but no.
I feel like a lady that is pregnant with a baby because I'm always throwing up.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's not good writing. And also, I think that it's this song that's peppered with vomit sound effects.
Oh, I didn't pick up on the vomitron.
No, it's definitely this song. It has the vomit sound effect. It also has the hi Ronnie, the AA or NA or meeting line.
Oh, yeah.
And again, this skirts around being skits. It's not quite there because it's not long enough, but I think the idea is the same.
God, you get so angry if anything other than music is happening in music. It's so funny.
That's not true. That's not true. Just not skits.
What else would be happening?
I don't know anything. Maybe a phone call? I'm very pleased if there's a phone call or if there's a recorded phone outgoing message in your song. I'm fine with that.
I hate you so much. You are ruining this episode. Spoilers. Yeah, so after threatening to have sex with mothers and their daughters, I'd like to point out, Tim, this is borderline a ska song.
Yeah.
If you add horns to this, it is a ska song. I hear it in my head as a ska song.
Well, again, this is the one that is probably the least offensive, at least from his vocal delivery. There's some genuinely good guitar work.
Sure.
It kind of interpolates imitates or incorporates the Bach that was turned into the Dracula theme song.
Yeah, that is in there. Of course, Tim, as you alluded to at the top, I think he is falling for Miss Lisa Van Helsing.
That's going to be trouble. He's going to have to bring that home to the werewolf parents.
I think they'll be pleased. It's the vampire functions he's going to have the problem with. But more importantly, Tim, we haven't determined, is she there for him? Is she there to kill him? Is it Hugh Jackman in a dress?
I mean, it's definitely Hugh Jackman in a dress, but his motives, her motives, are
unknown.
Right.
So he sings, I'm insane. Well, I can feel it in my bones, coursing through my veins. When did I become so cold? For goodness sakes, where's my self-control? If home is where my heart is, then my heart has lost all hope. He's fallen for this chick. He's given his heart over to her. She is his home, and if he's going to give in to her, Tim, he knows that could mean a stake in the heart, or as you mentioned, ingesting holy water, which sounds like a horrible way to die.
Interesting. Okay. How do the lines, I feel like a lady that is pregnant with a baby because I'm always throwing up, how does that relate?
Well, I think that he's spending the majority of the song attempting to convince her he's just a drug addict and not a creature of the night.
Yeah. I would have also accepted he is bad at writing songs.
Oh, well, that was part B.
Oh.
In either explanation, that's just poor writing.
Okay.
Track number 5, Good Girls, Bad Guys.
This song is unfortunate.
Yeah, I think it could have been a Bon Jovi song if you just tweak a few things.
So verse 1, you've got pep in your step. You live your life with no regret. How you look when you are wet is something I cannot forget. I just want to kiss your lips, the ones between your hips. Okay, so he would like to perform oral sex on Hugh Jackman in a dress.
Again, Tim, you are jumping straight to the B plot. I feel like you've abandoned your notes and you are just ankle deep in this Hugh Jackman tale. And I gotta say, I love it. I love it.
So come on, sexy, please text me. I'm ready for you. So come on, waiting, I'm begging, so please get here soon. And then it goes on, ooh la la, what lovely curves. Then we get a wolf whistle, because of course we do.
Well, he's part werewolf.
Sure. And a scumbag. So he's a scumbag werewolf. Sure. So that accounts for the wolf whistle.
Yep.
Baby, I get off by getting you off first.
Well, that's nice.
Yes.
That sounds good,
absolutely.
Right?
He's a courteous lover. Sorry, girl, if this is quick. So please just take it in the ass and suck my dick. Now, of course, ass and dick are inexplicably edited out.
Well, bleeped.
Yes, sure. It's good to know that he is a courteous and giving lover, but only to a point. He does have some very specific demands for after he has been sexually generous.
I feel like that's all just a ploy then. He's not doing it out of the goodness of his heart. He knows what he's about to ask for is unpleasant. And he's just buttering her up.
Yes. There are also a lot of ohs scattered throughout this for some reason, which I think makes sense with your Bon Jovi comparison.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also another big 80s metal guitar solo that doesn't make sense unless it's secretly a Bon Jovi song.
Yes, huge guitar solo. It's great. Bon Jovi could cover this, get rid of the overt sexual innuendo. I don't think that's the right word for this. The porn lines. The part about anal sex and dick sucking.
He would, of course, keep the bitch you gave me the fucking clap, again, with fucking bleeped out, as the capper, though, right?
Is fucking bleeped out at the end?
Yeah. And this song really gets repetitive. You get 4 straight choruses before that last line, and I don't know if it really counts as a good girl if she is giving you gonorrhea, right?
Well, good girls can have gonorrhea too, Tim.
That's the shirt.
That's the shirt. The most peculiar part of this song to me, in all honesty, is that what man would sit around curious why women keep falling for him?
Well, a bad boy, Garrett. A guy that plays by his own rules. He doesn't do anything to draw them in, yet they are drawn in nonetheless.
Yeah, but who would sit around thinking about that?
A real James Dean type, Garrett, except instead of...
I see what's happening here. You know what? Tim has now become starry-eyed. He's looking off into... Well, tough to tell if you're starry-eyed. Those eyes are a grayish red. That's not good.
Yeah.
That's more gray and red than I am comfortable seeing in the white portion of a person's eye. You should seek medical help. We're going to need to put Neosporin in those eyes. Gonna have to cream up those peeps.
And that's the shirt. There we go. Cream
We're
up
creaming
those peeps. Yeah.
Oh boy, we've gone off the rails. So Tim, I think the only thing that needs to be said here is obviously this song is about poor young Rickles worrying, lamenting even, the fact that Lisa is falling for him, and more importantly, he's falling for her. At best in this scenario, he's a drug addict to her. She's still falling for him, so you've got to wonder, is he questioning, does Lisa want to kill me or not? And is she potentially Hugh Jackman?
In all my relationships, my first question is rule out Hugh Jackman impersonating a lady.
Yeah, I was going to say, not an impersonator.
Or a man.
I'm having a really lovely evening.
Yes. Before we move on, I have a single genius annotation comment for the whole song, and I don't know if this is a pro or anti falling in reverse comment.
All right, that's fun.
God is dead, and we killed him.
That's it?
That's it. Somebody...
I think it's anti.
I don't know. I don't know.
But not for any of the reasons you and I are anti.
I mean, I agree with that statement, but I don't know if falling in reverse is related. Track number 6, Pick Up the Phone. Get a jazzy opening here, complete with snapping, and then a voicemail, again, sort of skit, pseudo-skit, and screaming.
Oh, the screaming.
Yeah. And you like to leave me terrible voicemails that I then save to my computer and use as evidence against you. Thank you, sir, for being more creative than just roaring yeah into the phone.
Absolutely. I couldn't help but remember the voicemails I used to leave you, only because a lot of them were jokingly began very similarly to this young man. He's so angry and thinks that screaming pick up the phone into someone's voicemail is going to get someone to pick up that phone.
Sure. This song is sung from the perspective of a guy who is actively abusing his girlfriend or significant other.
If not actively, he is on the verge. It is clear they have had a fight.
A physical fight.
We can say they might have had a physical altercation. Tough to say. We're speaking of course, fictional characters, so we don't need to even say allegedly here. So sure, yeah, they've had a physical altercation. I mean, this is right after an entire song dedicated to him saying what a piece of shit he is and how he mistreats women.
Right, and again, it's easier to say that this is a fictional account had he not once been charged for battery and false imprisonment of his girlfriend. Just gonna throw that out there.
Had that happened when this song was written?
No, that was, I believe, a year after this. However...
So this is foreshadowing.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of foreshadowing in life, Garrett.
Well, I'm not arguing about whether or not foreshadowing exists, Tim. I'm just confirming the timeline. First, he wrote about his intention to beat a woman, and then he did.
Think of it as a call forward.
That clears it up. Also, allegedly.
Yes.
Can I give you my only sounds like for the whole album?
Please do.
All right. First, the falling in reverse lyrics. I truly believe that the reason I'm here is to tell you the truth of the ending is near. Oh, you already know. You already know. They do what they want to do, say what they want to say, live how they want to live, play how they want to play. MC Hammer continues to this day, and by that I mean 2011, to influence musicians in overt ways, like stealing the Adams groove or whatever the shit that was called from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But that's all I can think of every time those lyrics began. I assume you heard it as well.
I didn't until you just started singing it, but yeah, you're absolutely right.
Fantastic.
So some pro-domestic abuse lyrics.
Every song's got them, am I right? I'm not? Okay.
Well, it's very...
Oh, this one does,
It's
though.
very Beatles-esque.
Okay, yeah.
In parts. Pick up the phone. Answer your text. Well, I apologize about last night. I did not mean to disrespect you. You better be alone. If I catch you with somebody else, you know that I'm gonna be upset. I truly believe that the reason I'm here is to tell you the truth that your ending is near. I still don't think you're hearing me clear. You must understand our relationship is done, justified by the person that you have become. Now, I'm the one that's holding the gun. Pick yourself up off the floor. Wipe the tears off your face because the cops are knocking on our door. They're gonna want to know what's up. You better tell them that you fell, because...
All of that were lyrics to the song, right?
Yes.
You better tell them that you fell is in this song.
Yes, because when they see the bruises on my face, they're probably taking both of us to jail. Later on, the kicking, the screaming, the breaking of limbs, Jesus. I'll be damned if I see you with some other man, because if I cannot have you, then nobody can. And that's kind of where it gets a little Beatlesy. Or I guess technically Elvisy, because I think John Lennon stole that Run for Your Life bit from Elvis, but yes.
Oh, I was much happier when they sang it, though.
Well, yes, but I was going to say at the time he hadn't abused a wife, but that's also not true.
Honestly, Tim, I didn't think this song was that bad, which I realize after everything you just read makes me sound like a monster.
Yes.
But, once again, I am not a monster. When you read everything back to back as you did, all of the pro-assault lyrics?
Pro-domestic abuse, at least.
Do you know the difference between domestic abuse and battery?
I think that domestic abuse is a wider net. Like, for example, assault you can be charged with if you don't actually hit somebody, whereas I think you can't be charged with battery unless there's actually a physical altercation.
And helpful why I hate this album tip number 267705. Spitting on someone is assault in most states.
100%.
You can take that to the bank.
Yep. Don't do it. Or do it from a vantage point where no one can prove it was you.
Allegedly. Tim, you can't tell people how to break the law. Anyway, as you mentioned, Tim, things get pretty aggressive quickly. I think that if we're addressing the saga going on between this vampire werewolf, boy, we never named him Tim. We want to stay with Rickroll, or do we want to call him something else?
How about Rojo?
Rojo is the character in the songs.
Yes.
Name of the vampire. Okay. What about just Ronnie? Ronnie the werewolf is pretty good.
Ron Wolf?
Seems like a little brother name. Ronnie the werewolf vampire, not Ronnie the singer. Well, Ronnie the werewolf vampire singer.
This is confusing. Let's call him Jonathan.
Jonathan has obviously been trying to push Lisa away. So they go on a date. He's trying to be a jerk, trying to get her to stop falling in love with him. And of course, he's eating himself up because, Tim, he's fallen for this girl, despite the fact that her whole existence should be dedicated to his destruction. He's gonna cast caution to the wind. He calls her, pick up the phone, answer your texts. I apologize about last night. He wasn't being himself. He wasn't being classic Ronnie/Jonathan. He says, till death do us part, I thought you would never go straight for my heart. I'm better off living in hell. I think, Tim, he is saying that he would rather she drive a stake through his heart and send him straight to hell than to leave him alone and not answer his calls and texts.
Interesting. Let me ask you, as a person who has been on 2 occasions pursued by the Texas Marshal Service, have you had luck seducing any of them as a way to get away?
No. That was strictly romantic.
Good to know.
That was strictly romantic. I just happened to be in custody at the time. I wasn't given special favor.
Right.
I just liked her uniform.
Yes. She looked an awful lot like Hugh Jackman.
Damn, not everyone is Hugh Jackman disguised as a woman for nefarious means.
That's true, but if you live your life pretending that they are, you'll get much further than if you don't, because if you don't think that about everyone, occasionally one of those people will be Hugh Jackman hunting you dressed as a lady.
I promise you, Tim, I searched every inch of that Texas Ranger. She was not Hugh Jackman in a dress.
Maybe that one wasn't, but the next one down.
I'm having a lovely time.
Track number 7, Don't Mess with Ouija Boards.
Boy, we really have just taken a left-hand turn to Crazyville. What in the world's going on here? I can't wait to hear your explanation because it's all bonkersville.
Honestly, I don't really have one.
Okay, that's fair.
If you look in my notes here, I'll show you. First line, what is this?
Yep.
There's a series of videos of the talented guitarist and Rojo trying to explain the deal with the devil and what this song means, and I couldn't make it through them. They're so dumb and irritating, and I just don't know what the fuck this is.
It was very hard to understand what the fuck they were talking about. The gist of what I got from the research is that one of them, probably Ragin' Rick Ronnie Roll, I think he created a contract with the devil to become a musician and signed it in his own blood. And then the other one, the one who didn't go to prison for being associated with a murder, was like, that's fucking crazy. I'm not doing that. And that's somehow a story. And that's somehow why they made this song? It's super unclear. As far as the surface meaning of this song goes, I have no idea what it's about.
Okay.
He just cautions you not to mess with Ouija boards.
Sure, and there's just a lot of cliches. There's the deal with the devil, I sold my soul to rock and roll. It's just a lot of cliche bullshit with growly Batman voice.
I think he's saying, I finally made my way out of these bargains with Satan and don't conjure up a new spirit that could potentially ruin this sweet new gig.
Okay.
I think.
He's finally traced it back to the original werewolf. He has murdered the original werewolf. So he has freed himself from that half of the curse. Now he is only vampire. And
That's interesting.
immediately, he is bitten by a separate line of werewolf, and he's right back where he started.
Do not editorialize my story. None of that happened. It's not canon. I mean, I love it. It's great. But no, it didn't happen. Tim, you might not be aware of this. Vampires are terrified of Ouija boards.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that.
While I was able to ascertain this through several different writings throughout time, in no way, shape, or form have I was able to figure out why.
First of all, it's kind of weird. You did, in fact, go to the Vatican Library this week to do the research, and that's impressive. I assume the reason why is because naturally for a vampire to exist, they must take the lives of human beings, not all of which are then turned into vampires, so they just have a rather long kill list.
Okay.
The problem is that there's a lot of souls on the other side of that Ouija board that are probably pretty pissed off at them. So you, for example, out of all the souls that could be on that other end of that Ouija board, you've only killed like 2 of those people. But a vampire living for hundreds, thousands of years even, the chances that the person on the other end of that Ouija board is somebody they killed is much higher.
Oh, that's fair. And then you've got a poltergeist or possibly an exorcist, or you're just being haunted by one of those irritating Caspers.
Oh,
you know how
yeah.
frustrating it
It's
is
the
to have a
worst.
child that you cannot lock in a room?
Yeah, I am. Well aware.
Okay, wait, what? Rude. Yeah, boy, Tim, I think you nailed it. That makes total sense. Now, just to rewind for 1 second so that I just want to get the record straight. Did you say that I am responsible for 2 of the souls in the afterlife?
I said that you are responsible for far fewer deaths than the average vampire.
Okay.
I think that's
good.
fair.
Yep, sure. That's an accurate statement. I can't say any part of that's untrue, but it seems like you're leaving open a crack to at least imply that I am responsible for many souls being in the afterlife, which is not really a message I want to get out there.
Ronnie Dobbs here didn't pull the trigger, but he's responsible for that death in the same way.
Tim, you want to run the scorecard real quick?
Nope. Listen, I don't want to compare scorecards. I'm not saying that I'm innocent. I'm not saying that I don't have a few ghouls waiting for me in the afterlife. Halloween is always
Did you kill people?
Halloween is always a treacherous time. It's the time the dead return. All I'm saying is that you don't have no blood on your hands. Is that fair?
Blood, sure.
Okay.
I've got blood all over my hands.
They are bloodier than usual today.
This whole thing with a sheep, I'll tell you about it later.
Oh my God. Some sort of angry sheep ghost?
Don't worry, it's not my blood. I think that in this song, we learned that Jonathan/Ronald chose to tell Lisa he's a vampire. He couldn't stand it anymore. Wasn't sure if this was true love or if it was, as you pointed out, possibly Hugh Jackman in a dress, or worse, Hugh Jackman in a dress, and he intends on murdering this vampire. Sometimes, Tim, you gotta lay it on the line.
Yeah.
Track number 8, Sink or Swim.
This is as poignant, I think, as John Lennon's Imagine.
I hate you.
What if the devil was a lie? What if God did not exist? So with all due respect, tell me, what is death if life is just a bitch? Oh, you know what? I take it back. The end kind of ruins it a little bit.
All of it ruins it, Tim. This kid thinks he discovered nihilism.
I mean, in his defense, the pre-chorus might actually sum up Mr. Lennon's feelings circa 1970.
Oh,
Again,
sure.
if I may.
Absolutely.
You will pay the price for betraying me. You will pay the price.
Oof.
Sounds accurate.
Yes, but in this song, what do you think the fuck he's talking about? He speaks of haters, once again, specifically his old bandmates.
Yeah, this is just a diss track for his previous band, of course.
I noticed a missed opportunity in this song, because there's not much to it, but listen to these lyrics and tell me if there's not a hit film that just came out within the last year that really could have used a song like this. So save yourself, because the tide is rising high. It's sink or swim. It's hit or miss. What will you pick? So take some action. Don't let the undertow grab hold. It's sink or swim. It's hit or miss. Man overboard. Man overboard.
Talking about The Beach Bum, the new hit Matthew McConaughey film, I believe.
Nailed it. No, not at all, you asshole. I'm talking about about Aquaman? An octopus playing drums, missed opportunity.
Sure.
The chorus alone.
That movie, though, sucks. And
Yeah, it's
this
not
song might be too good for that movie.
Ocean Master.
Oh, God. No. Why I hate this movie.
Sucks. Yeah, it's coming. Do you believe in ghosts conducting from the grave?
Yes.
He likens himself to a... Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry. I was answering your question. I did not realize you were reading lyrics. Go ahead.
Well then, that is peculiar. We'll address that later in your slaps.
Fair enough.
I think he is likening himself to a ghost who has risen from the dead to take revenge, a la Count of Monte Cristo.
Yeah, or just a vampire.
Oh, that's true. Boy, he can't even keep it out. We're nothing but pawns, so move to where they want, because life is just a game. If true, Tim, do we have any sense from this song who is controlling these pawns? Who's playing the game?
Ghosts from beyond the grave.
Is he just overtly threatening to kill these men at this point? I have my hands around your throat, with a smile upon my face. Squeeze until you choke, because I will not let go until I feel okay.
He absolutely is. The only thing I take issue with is your statement of at this point.
No, that's true. This time it's directed towards former bandmates. At least it's better than that poor girlfriend who at least got the good sense to stop returning his calls. These are words in these songs. I hate that you and I have to be sitting in this studio right now saying, this is beyond the pale. We're not even saying don't do it. We're just asking why.
I'm saying don't do it. Why are
Tim
you...
is saying don't do it.
Don't abuse people.
Well, no, I'm saying don't, not the abuse. Of course I'm saying don't abuse people.
Okay, so you are anti-abuse but pro-singing about abusing people.
Pro, I'm just confused as to why you would do it. If you want to write those songs, great. I just don't know why you'd share them with anyone.
Okay, I think we're in agreement on that. This should not have been shared.
All right, so what's going on with Lisa and Jonathan? I think, why is it always Jonathan with you? Anyway.
We could call him Jolliver.
No, Jolliver is the name of an invisible friend whom you kept too far into adolescence and therefore you cannot get rid of any longer.
Not me. 21 Pilots.
No, me. Oh, right, not me either.
Dear God.
Anyway, I think he told her and she may have betrayed him. He says, you will pay for betraying me. Pretty cut and dry. But I think he told her and she, is trying to figure out what to do. I'm Lisa Van Helsing. This is literally what I do. I kill vampires. And so she did what any smart person would do. She talked it over with her friends. A couple chatty Cathys get together. They start finding out they got a vampire in their midst. What do you think happens, Tim? Boom. Angry mob. Well, less of an angry mob, more of an angry HOA letter left on his door. They want him out. The neighbors don't want to be living next to somebody who's constantly generating corpses. It's not comforting. So he goes to her and he says, we don't have to live out our roles of our ancestors any longer. And he'll kill her if she can't see past these names, these roles, these labels, Tim. So he wraps his hands around her throat. I have my hands around your throat with a smile upon my face. Squeeze until you choke, because I will not let go until I feel okay. He's either going to kill her or she's going to let him know that she can see past his vampirism and subsequent werewolfism after having it cured and then being bitten by a separate sect of werewolves. Congratulations, Tim. It's part of canon now. I'm bringing it in. Yes. I'm bringing it in. It's a C plot. Who gives a shit? If Endgame can be 3 hours, this podcast can be 90 minutes. Let's do it. So yeah, I think, Tim, these two could make it.
Okay, and again, at some point he's going to realize that she is not Lisa Van Helsing. She is, was it Victor Abraham? Is it Abraham Van Helsing? Anyway.
No, it's not.
The original Van Helsing, Bram Stoker's creation, made flesh, portrayed by Mr. Hugh Jackman, with a crossbow shoved down the front of that dress.
But do you think he still has the crossbow in the dress?
Always. That's how he hides it.
That's not a crossbow in my dress.
It's a sharp arrow. It's poking through. It's actually through the fabric. I can see that it's an arrowhead.
Also, you're a lady. You shouldn't have a penis. I'm not Hugh Jackman. That's for sure. I'm a lady. I'm Lisa Van Helsing. I love you. Let's get married.
Track number 9. Caught Like a Fly.
Attention, everyone! I got a couple things I would like to get off of my chest.
This sounds like My Chemical Romance covering Man Man, maybe?
A very poor man's Benefit of Mr. Kite.
Yeah.
It's the Carnival Barker atmosphere.
Yeah, it's very circusy.
We make like hardcore circus music.
It's terrifying.
Guess what, Tim?
He's angry at Escape the Faith.
Friends Who the fuck needs them? You know who you are. We all know who they are, sir. We are on track number 9, and I don't think you've made it through a single song where you didn't mention Escape the Fate, either overtly or with clumsy metaphor. He's clearly taking revenge on his enemies in this song, right?
He is, and he's shaming his enemies. Your grandfather would probably roll over in his grave if he knew of the person that you had become. He also threatens to bang, presumably Max Green's lady, after Max dies, which seems kind of petty.
Does.
He says, "And when you die, I won't be at your wake. No eulogy from me, just a smile on my face. And while God might be busy with judging your soul, I will have slept with the girl that you love the most."
I mean, he's basically just telling these guys that I'm going to kill you, and then God is going to judge you while I bang your lady.
Because of how bad of people they are.
Well, yeah.
Caught like a fly in a web of your lies. It's truth be told now, or it's meet your demise. This is all his fault.
Yes, all of it.
I don't care.
Yeah, he did not learn much from sobriety.
Yes, or from jail.
Yeah, or any of the other life-altering decisions that should have set him on a path of not being a total dick face. So let's turn our attention, Tim, to something brighter, more fun. As we talk about Jonathan, a.k.a. Ronald, a.k.a. the vampire of the story, a.k.a. werewolf vampire, werepire?
The Vamp Wolf, yeah.
The Vamp Wolf. I don't know how it took us to track 9 to get to Vamp Wolf. We're slipping. Anyway, I think that he is taking revenge on his previous vampling or even vamplings who have taken advantage of him being out of the music scene, this king of the music scene, as he's been so apt to point out. But what is amazing about it, Tim, is there's a difference. He is taking his former vampires to task, and what I think is happening, it's very interesting. He says, "How does it feel knowing you're barely alive? Seeing through bloodshot eyes, you're left empty inside. Where I was strung out and drugged through the mud, I must agree you're just like me." I think he's taking him to that abandoned house that he was exiled to, where he and his new girlfriend, Lisa Van Helsing, are murdering vampires together. Sort of a Dexter situation.
Interesting. I like that.
Yeah. Now, what's really fun is that much like Blade, that was part vampire, part human, what happens when you are also a werewolf? What are the odds of their offspring having the werewolf gene? Or is it 100%?
I assume it's a dominant gene, so probably 50-50.
Yeah, I've heard it skips a generation.
Like baldness. So it's like an invert. No, Garrett, no.
I was going to say, that doesn't
Read
make
your
any
goddamn
sense.
genetics book.
I literally just said it doesn't make any sense.
Read it.
Anyway.
Track number 10, Goodbye Graceful.
Opens with screaming.
Yeah, it doesn't get better from there, though, so that's good.
I think he realizes things got pretty dark and now he's happy to have been saved. But by what? I don't actually know. Is he waving goodbye to being graceful? Goodbye, graceful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. You helped to change my wicked ways when I was in my darkest days. Who? What is the grace? Is it the penal system? Something got him turned around in his eyes. I think this is a love letter to spite.
It's something got him turned around in his eyes and only in his eyes.
Yeah, well, I think vindictiveness and spite might be what's fueling this. That might be grace. He views spite as grace.
Back on team Ronnie Dubs.
Yeah. The song does end with a borderline growl rap.
Yes.
He seems to decide to growl rap an amends. He says, "This boulder on my shoulder, it got heavier and colder till that day that I got sober. Now it's slowly rolling over. To all the people that I've done wrong, now I apologize." I guess you can't have a 9-song album, but you should if the 10th song is Goodbye Graceful.
Sure.
And as far as our vampire story is concerned, he's just grateful he has Lisa. Now, I think we've answered one question. I think Lisa's there for him. She had the opportunity to kill him. She did almost blow it with that HOA, get him kicked out of the building, but I think she honestly does love him. Now, what I don't know, and I think is a very slim possibility, is it Hugh Jackman in a dress?
It started as a long con.
Right, but now they're in love. Is it truly the offspring of Van Helsing, Lisa Van Helsing, the great, etc. times 32 granddaughter of Van Helsing, or is it modern day Hugh Jackman in a dress? We don't know. I don't think we're going to answer it.
Well, I think it's original Van Helsing. However,
Well,
he just happens to look like Hugh Jackman, if movies are to be believed.
Well, they're not, obviously.
Then I have no points.
Everyone. Oh, great. Well, for the purposes of humor, I'm going to assume that it's still up in the air that it could, in fact, be Hugh Jackman in a dress. Track number 11, The Westerner.
To break away from the themes of all the previous songs, here we have a song about how awesome he is and how nothing bad is his fault and how everyone else around him is an asshole who deserves to get caught in the gears underlying an escalator, but they all want to be like him.
Yeah, that sums it up pretty nicely. Let me just read the lyrics. I was wrongfully accused. No. You left me locked inside a cell. Well, yes. I've been cheated. I've been sued, but I have lived to tell. The more you kick me when I'm down, the more it truly helps. Well, yes, of course, you are fueled by spite. I don't doubt that. But hold on. Wrongfully accused.
Yeah. Untrue. It gets worse, though. He says,
Oh, so much.
I know you're jealous and you wish you could be me. I'm so smart and clever with my lyrics, can't you see? And that's a line that, again, you would think might be self-deprecating, but I don't believe it is with him. I think that he means it genuinely.
Yes.
There's nobody better in this music industry. And in case you think you are, go ahead and give me a ring, phone ring, sound effect. Whoa, I deserve a purple heart for all my fucking wounds, lacerations to my ego, pride that I've consumed. And in your final hour, when you are looking back, you'll find that I'm the best at what I do, and that's a fact.
Yeah, so he's gonna kill these people.
And this is all punctuated with a bunch of weird do-do-do-do's that don't make any sense. He's threatening to kill people. He's shouting about how he borderline deserves a purple heart for the bullshit he's had to endure. He's been wrongfully accused, even though he was rightfully accused. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Almost like listening to the song. Like I said, you can't have 9 songs on an album, but you should. Because 10 and 11 are tough.
He could have pulled a couple of the non-domestic violence and the not I hate my old band parts, pulled a couple of these songs together and had a nice like 4 or 5 song EP from this album. And it wouldn't be terrible.
Or, better yet, a Tokyo Police Club style like 18-minute LP.
Yep.
I guess it's a little longer, but not much. Yeah, and to round things out, Tim, I think we can confidently say that our leading man, with the help of his lovely lady, who may or may not be Hugh Jackman in a dress, I'm sure he's probably going to... Okay. For everyone listening and for those of us here in the room, it's whomever you'd like it to be. Whether it's a lady who he lives happily ever after with, or it's Hugh Jackman in a dress, who neither of which ever acknowledged the fact that it is both famed movie star Hugh Jackman, who is actually Van Helsing, and that he has, well, unignorable male genitalia.
Yes.
I assume.
Well, they are unignorable.
In intimate settings, I would imagine.
I would
it
even
come
say in non-intimate settings, Garrett, they assert themselves.
Okay. How did this thing do?
This debuted at number 19 on the Billboard 200. I don't know. And
I've never heard of it.
I haven't either. I've never heard of this band. I've never heard of Escape the Fate. I've never heard of this album. I've never heard of Ronnie Dobbs, Radke, Rojo. I don't really have any other information on how it did. I don't know how many it eventually sold. I don't know how the Dutch felt about it. I don't know how other Central Asian or Sub-Saharan African countries bordering the Dutch felt about it.
Yeah, let's give it the official Why I Hate This Album, who cares stamp.
Fair enough.
That brings us to reviews, Tim. What did people think of it?
We have 79 total Amazon reviews, which might be a low.
Yes.
4.4 stars on average, 77% 5-star, 5% 1-star. Somebody's crazy mom said, fun, fun, fun. Loved it from start to finish. Even had to make a few into ringtones. They were so good. What part of what song? Sasha gave it 5 out of 5 stars and titled her review, Rising Out of Forward. I don't know what that means. But her review says simply, Ronnie is love. Ronnie is life.
Does this guy secretly have some sort of cult?
Maybe. RCB also gave this 5 out of 5 stars and titled their review Love. I enjoy this very, very much, especially during my commute. So fun to scream along and arrive hoarse for my day. Just think about at your job. If you got there and you were like, oh, I can't talk. Okay, you know what, Garrett, just write down what you're trying to say. I can see you've done some vocal cord damage. You write down, can't talk, falling in reverse, way to work.
I am not a vampire. Who is this for?
This is for A very select group of people. This is for people who are simultaneously fans of death metal, fans of 80s guitar solos, fans of Green Day, fans of Neutral Milk Hotel, fans of the Decemberists, and fans of emo, and would like to know what all those things sound like just jammed together into a single song. And spoiler alert, if you are just joining the program right now, not great.
Not great, no. Why would they be joining now? That's weird.
I don't know exactly how this is broadcast. You take care of that, but
right.
Perhaps somebody just turned on their car radio and they got it at this part of the episode.
Nope. You do not understand this at all. No, we are not live. I edit out a lot of tasteless things you say. I think you pretty much nailed it since you named half the bands ever. And that's correct. That is the correct answer. 2 points. Final thoughts, Tim. What have we not said about this pile of shit?
Not much. I kind of want to reiterate that I hate Rojo. That guy sucks, and this band is significantly worse for his inclusion.
Mm-hmm. Ditch Ricky Tikki Taffy. You're going to be 85% better. Now, arguably, you're not going to be a good band because then you're just that other band. What's that one called?
Escape the Fate. I mean, the musicians are all pretty good. The drummer's great. The guitarist is great. I think it could work. They just need to get rid of Ricky Tikki Taffy. I'm sad you just came up with that now.
Yeah. I would even say I'd be curious to listen to later albums because I even think Ronald McDonald is pretty talented. I mean, his lyrics are shit, but, hire some people. I don't know. Have some real life. Well, I was going to say have some life experiences, but he's literally walked away from every experience in his life with the wrong conclusion.
He's walked away from the life that Johnny Cash was singing about. Mm-hmm. And he has somehow done it so wrong that this is the album we get.
Yeah, instead of I shot a man in Reno, you get later jerks. Nothing can touch me. I'm going to go put mascara on and whine that women don't call me back after I abuse them.
In his defense, they often don't.
In their defense, the song's about abuse.
It really does miss the mark, and it didn't have to. I think that's the point. It could have been kind of good.
So, Tim, I ask, do you hate this album?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, it was anticlimactic. I knew you were going to hate it.
Yep. What about you? Did you reverse get there?
I am liking it in reverse.
I'm sorry?
I fucking hate this.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, clever.
We're going to talk about that in your slaps, too. We got a lot to discuss tonight. Slaps are going to take a while. You hate it. I hate it. Honestly, folks, let us know.
Unclear.
Did you know what this was? Have you heard this? Is this a generational thing? Was this for tweens in the 2011 to 2014 era? I don't know. And you know what? I don't really care. I am curious, but if you don't ever tell me, that's fine too. As always, please rate, review, subscribe if you can. The reviews are huge. Thank you. And feel free to get creative in that review space. Throw the 5 stars up there. Get it up there. That's out of the way. Done. Great. Let's talk about what we can put in there. Where's Tim Antwoord? Sample lyrics for what you would like to hear from a Texas Toast style album. So get creative. Don't feel like you have to go traditional with it. My favorite, Tim's a Sucker, always works. There's a review in there.
I don't like that one.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. I mean, feel free to not insult me, but if you want to really rag on Tim, he loves it. He thinks it's hilarious. So
you can feel free to email this in or tweet at Garrett or post it as a review. If you prefer me to Garrett, he wants to know.
I do not. In fact, you can just go ahead and unsubscribe.
No.
I'm kidding. I'm not petty. I'm not petty, but I don't want to hear a wave of Tim fanery. That is suspect at best. But we're getting off topic. Please, if you can, share the podcast with somebody you think would like it. That's the best thing you can do. And that's all we really want to do is get to as many people as possible. Start them off on one of your favorites or one that you know they're going to know the album pretty well. That's usually the best way to get indoctrinated. But then have them start at the beginning. It's more fun if you do. You can go to hatepod.com and you can click on contact us in the upper left-hand corner and you can reach out to us and ask for an email, but that's just so we can reply. We don't do anything with it. We don't market to you or anything creepy. Tim will reply to you, but that's what happens if you email him. So I'm sorry.
Sometimes they will be late. I can't guarantee I will reply to you in a timely fashion.
I'm doing some now. So if they're from me and then they're curt, I apologize, but the only way I could do it quickly.
Yes. If you get a curt response from Garrett or a response at all and would like to email us, leave a review, or whatever, letting us know that you prefer me or you prefer my replies, feel free to do that as well. You can tweet at him. Garrett's the one that's going to get those tweets. Tweet I hate Garrett. I prefer Tim.
That can't be good for my
Tim
self-esteem.
greater sign than Garrett. However you want to do it.
Come on, Garrett stands. Where are you guys at? You gotta support me. I am hanging on by a thread. God damn it, Tim. Let's get through the end of this episode.
All right.
You can download any possible version of the show you could ever possibly want from hatepod.com. All the episodes are there. All who the hell knows at this point, like almost 100. You can also reach out to us on Twitter at albumhatepod, Instagram at justhatepod, facebook.com/hatepod, youtube.com/ I don't remember. We're on there. For Why I Hate This Album, I have been one of your hosts, Garrett Harvey.
I have been Gordon Eversole.
There's cowboys running through my dreams. Nothing's quite the way it seems. I joined the Navy, got kicked out in a week. My facial features aren't distinct. Try to find some meaning in these songs. The genius is a genius, got it wrong. No, it's a lobster murder sex thing. It's the bleaching of the rear. A full assault on both your ears. The riffs are too repetitive. The lyrics make no sense. All the songs are B-sides. The cover art's a mess. Listen to it for a week. Now that week has passed. It's the Why I Hate This Album podcast with Tim and Gary.